And welcome to Second Thought. I'm the co-host, Susan King, and the good guy in the white hat, your host of the show, Mr. William Wagner. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Susan King, very much for that nice introduction. You're looking good today, Susan. Here we are, the end of 2002, and you're watching about the 128th edition of On Second Thought, produced right here on the Central Coast on public access television. Now, what is public access? That's the access every one of you and myself are supposed to have to get on TV to express different views. But even if it's not political or it's not different views and you want to do a show about local history or a show about guitars or the development of the piano from the harpsichord or whatever you want to do, this is what Congress intended it to be. Now, public access could be a whole lot better than it is. And I, for one, have been working the last 10 years to make it happen. And some of you saying, I don't remember you 10 years ago. You're right. For 7 or 8 or 9 years, going back into the, into the 80s, I believe, Comcast would not allow public access to happen. Now, for a long time, we had a mayor in Santa Maria named Hobbs. And I liked Mayor Hobbs. I liked it when he went out and painted his own white stripe on the corner of a street crossing rather than spend hundreds of dollars to have it done professionally. He just got a can of paint and did it himself. And that's the kind of thing I liked about Mayor Hobbs. But Mayor Hobbs had this one thing. He did not want government access. He did not want you to be able to sit in your comfort of your home and watch the city fathers throw away your money. He wanted you to get out of your chair, get in your car, drive down to City Hall, and have to sit there on those hard benches to find out what's going on. That was just one of Mayor Hobbs' idiosyncrasies, and I think he was wrong, and the City Council of Santa Maria agree with me, and so does Lompoc. Years now, you've had government access, but it wasn't until I threatened to sue Comcast and the city for blocking public access in June of 2000 that we finally got public access going. And it took literally the threat of a lawsuit to say, Georgia wants to know, am I the same guy that was running for office and got arrested? And the answer is yes. The other question, did I ever get charged? The answer is no. They just wanted to arrest me right before the election to cause me to lose. And your fourth question was, where was it? Your fourth question was, do I really have a degree in environmental science? Yes, and I believe I'm the only one of the 3 candidates running that did. And here it is. You can get a close-up look. It's from the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. It's an environmental science, not a Bachelor of Arts, science, which means you take science courses. I don't know if the light's hitting that right. You got that? Okay. There you go, Georgia. I do have the degree, and that was an easy one. I like to make, when you ask me such easy questions, that was an easy one. Here's a book. I'm not asking you to buy it from me, but people who are into healing, like Green Party, here's a book called Healing Our World by Dr. Mary Rupert. You probably never heard of her, but she was recommended to an appointment she didn't get on President Bush's administration. I think she was lucky not to get appointed, and I think she's better off not being part of that administration, but it's a good book, and it's about healing. Now, a lot of you have noticed that just recently, a few months ago, I had candidates for judge, and the Santa Barbara News Press, as well as some other papers, have just really beat this poor, well, not really poor, but this unfortunate judge, Diana Hall. And there's a close-up of Diana in the article. Show her sitting on the bench. Now, apparently, she was living with a gal named, according to the newspaper, Deidre Dykman. And the two of them, at some point, didn't get along right around Christmas time. And so somebody calls 911, or, 911. 911. Someone calls, she gets in her car and goes away from whatever the conflict is going to erupt into. So Diana's leaving the house. Someone tells the police she's got a gun. Turns out she doesn't have a gun. Or if she did, when she left the house, she threw it out the car, and I'm really stretching there to try to make the newspaper reporter look good. But she didn't have a gun. The police, pull out their weapons, get out of your car. I think it was good thing. Now Diana Hall knows what it's like to be unjustly arrested when you're trying to avoid a confrontation and yet you're hauled into court. Now she's going to stand charges, I'm not sure, on domestic violence or on being under the influence of alcohol. And yeah, maybe she refused to take the test. And she says, hey, those tests are not really reliable. That's why she refused to take it. Well, that's good experience for her. So maybe the next time a defendant comes before and says, those tests are not really reliable, she'll think, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm throwing the test out. Anyway, my whole point about Diana is she didn't come on my show because I didn't invite her. But in the whole article, there's been 2 articles. Twice they drag up this poor schmuck who had pornography wrongfully on his government computer in the district attorney, the Santa Barbara district attorney's office. And I'm wondering, why do they got to bring this guy up? He's got nothing to do with the domestic violence, I think. He has nothing to do with it. So why do they go back and say, she beat this guy in the election? Could it be, fellow citizens, that there are people in the good old boys club that wanted, and I'm not even going to name the guy who's resigned from the DA's office. I'll just give his first name. Let's call him Chucky. Chucky, who had pornography on his district attorney computer in the office down there in the Santa Maria Courthouse building structure, he's brought up again. She beat him in the election in March. He basically was wiped out once that hit the Slanted Mary Times or any other newspaper. I can't remember all the newspapers that carried it, that he had been caught with pornography. His election was fried. Diana Hall had it in. Now, my question is, did someone deliberately set Chucky up, knew that he was doing this, I don't know, maybe once a week or something, got a slow moment and he goes check some pornography, which is a bad thing. He should have been fired for that. And I'm the first one to say, you don't have a right to go doing your private thing on government time. If you're working on government time, you're a government employee, you shouldn't be doing that unless you're investigating somebody for pornography and you're doing that, but that wasn't alleged. I think there's something going on behind the scenes here that isn't said, and you have to read between the lines. So before you bring down your own personal judge and say Diana Hall is a bad judge, she got arrested for drunk driving, blah, 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 before you go there, look behind the scenes. And remember that there was a candidate for president of Zimbabwe last year that got arrested right before the election, and then out of the mercy of the guy that controls the country, was released just days before the election. They just wanted to stop him from campaigning up to the point where it made a difference. And oh, by the way, wasn't somebody running for county supervisor here? Let me think. Somebody was running for supervisor right here in the 5th District, and the man was arrested 5 days before the election. They said he was going to jail. They said he was going out of state to face charges of assault and all kinds of bad stuff, and he was a bad dude. And then he never was charged, and in fact was released. And in fact, what the newspaper said, he could never hold office, wasn't true. Why am I making this connection? I'm just saying there are people, not everybody, but people in different parts of the government that will manipulate a situation because they want to get even. I don't know, maybe Diana Hall dismissed some charges that the police wanted prosecuted or the DA wanted prosecuted. And she looked at it and said, this is a bogus case. I'm throwing this out. Now, that's not in the newspaper article. I'm just suggesting maybe that took place, and maybe Diana Hall's judgment on that case, whatever case that was correct.